Have you ever felt it? Not loneliness. No, not that aching emptiness. Something else entirely. A delicious, profound quiet that settles over you when the world finally turns down its volume. A sense of peace that descends not when a room is full, but when it is empty. It's the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the gentle patter of rain against the window pane, the soft rustle of a page turning in a book held only by your hands. In these moments, you are not lonely. You are simply alone, and in that aloneness, you feel more yourself, more whole than anywhere else. Yet we live in a world that often mistakes this sacred state for a sickness, a world that looks at the person eating alone in a cafe, walking alone in a park, or simply choosing a quiet night in over a loud night out, and whispers words like loner, antisocial, unhappy. Have you ever felt the sting of that misunderstanding? Have you ever had to invent an excuse for your need for solitude, as if it were a character flaw to be hidden away? You tell people you're busy, you're tired, you're not feeling well, when the simple, honest truth is that you are recharging in the sanctuary of your own company. You are tending to your own inner garden, and it is a task that cannot be done in a crowd. This story, this exploration tonight, is for you. It's for every person who has found strength in silence and wisdom in solitude. It's a validation of your path and an invitation to understand the profound psychological power that blossoms in the quiet spaces you so bravely inhabit. Because the truth is, the person who is comfortable walking alone is not weak or rejected. They are a traveler on a different kind of journey, an explorer of an inner landscape that most are too afraid to navigate. To truly understand this, let us use a metaphor. Imagine that the social world, the parties, the meetings, the endless stream of notifications and conversations, is the surface of a vast ocean. It's bright, it's noisy, it's full of splashing and activity. Most people spend their entire lives here, in the sun-drenched shallows, constantly interacting, measuring themselves by the reflections they see in the eyes of others. They are skimmers of the surface. But you and others like you are deep-sea divers. You know that just beneath the chaotic surface lies a world of breathtaking beauty, of profound silence, and of incredible depth. To get there, you must leave the noise behind. You must put on your gear and purposefully descend, alone, into the quiet blue. The pressure increases, the light from the surface fades, and the world is reduced to the sound of your own breathing. For the people on the surface, this looks terrifying. They see you disappear beneath the waves and think you are lost. They cannot comprehend why anyone would choose the dark, silent deep over the bright, bustling shallows. But you know better. You know that this is where the true wonders are. This is where you discover strange and beautiful forms of life, where you see the architecture of the ocean floor, where you can study the currents that move the entire sea. This is not an escape. It is an expedition. The first and most crucial distinction we must make, the very first truth our diver understands, is the difference between solitude and loneliness. Our society uses these words interchangeably, and this is a profound and damaging mistake. Loneliness is a painful, involuntary state. It is the feeling of being stranded in the middle of the ocean, thirsting for connection you cannot find. It is a deficiency, a hunger. Solitude, on the other hand, is a choice. It is the deliberate, voluntary act of the diver descending into the water. It is a state of being alone without being lonely. It is a rich, fulfilling, and generative state. Loneliness is a prison. Solitude is a throne room. Many people who fear being alone have never truly experienced chosen solitude. They have only ever known the pangs of unwanted loneliness. And so they project that fear onto you. They see you in your quiet cafe corner and assume you are pining for company, when in reality, you are communing with your own thoughts, weaving narratives, solving problems, or simply being present in a way that is impossible when you're performing for an audience. If this idea of exploring your own inner depths, of reclaiming your solitude as a source of strength, is already sparking a new perspective for you, take a moment to subscribe to Mind Decode Explained. We journey through these intricate landscapes of the mind together every week, seeking not just answers, but better questions. Your journey is our journey. Let's return to our diver. Why do they make the descent? What are they seeking in the quiet dark? The first reason is clarity. The surface of the ocean is choppy, distorted by wind and waves. Trying to see clearly from there is impossible. Everything is a shimmering, fractured reflection. This is what our daily social lives are like. We are constantly reacting to others' moods, opinions, and expectations. Our sense of self can become a reflection of a reflection, a distorted echo. Have you ever come away from a long day of socializing feeling utterly drained and strangely disconnected from yourself, as if you've been wearing a mask for so long you've forgotten the face beneath? That is the exhaustion of the shallows. In the deep, however, the water is still. The currents are powerful but predictable. Here, the diver can see. Here, you can finally hear your own thoughts without the static of the crowd. The trivial anxieties, the social pressures, the need for approval, they all dissolve in the deep. What remains is the essential you. Your core values, your true desires, your unresolved pains, your most brilliant ideas. Solitude is the crucible of self-awareness. It is in the quiet moments that we can finally ask ourselves the most important questions. Who am I really when no one is watching? What do I truly want when I'm not being influenced by what I'm told I should want? What story am I living, and am I the one writing it? This process of self-discovery through solitude is not a New Age concept. It is a cornerstone of psychological development described by the legendary psychiatrist Carl Jung. He called it individuation. Jung believed that the ultimate goal of life is to become a fully formed, integrated individual, to unite the conscious and unconscious parts of our minds into a cohesive whole. It is the journey of becoming the person you were always meant to be, before the world told you who you should be. And according to Jung, this profound work cannot happen in a crowd. It requires introspection. It requires, as he put it, turning your eye inward. Our diver, descending into the ocean of the personal unconscious, is on a quest for individuation. Each descent brings them into contact with a hidden part of themselves, a forgotten memory, a suppressed talent, a shadow aspect of their personality. By observing these things without judgment in the safety of the silent deep, they can integrate them, becoming more whole, more authentic, and paradoxically, more capable of forming genuine connections when they return to the surface. This leads us to a common misconception, the one whispered by the people in the shallows, that those who spend time alone are somehow socially inept or don't value connection. The story of a young woman in college, let's call her Anne, beautifully illustrates the opposite. To her classmates, Anne was a ghost. She came to class, sat by herself, and left the moment it was over. She never joined study groups, never went to parties, never participated in the campus chatter. She was labeled aloof, arrogant, maybe even strange. people began to actively isolate her, speaking in hushed tones when she passed, creating stories to fill the silence she presented. They saw a person who couldn't connect. But one day, a classmate saw her in the library, surrounded by a mountain of books on a subject completely unrelated to their shared major. Curiosity overcame judgment, and he approached her. He learned that Anne had been forced into a major she detested due to family pressure and a less-than-perfect entrance exam score. Her entire solitary existence was a mission. She was spending every spare moment, every ounce of her energy, studying to achieve a near-perfect grade point average in her first semester so that she could apply for a transfer into the program she truly dreamed of. Her solitude wasn't a rejection of others. It was an embrace of her own future. She wasn't antisocial. She was fiercely pro-self. She was a diver on a specific, time-sensitive mission, and she couldn't afford the distractions of the shallows. This story dismantles the myth that a wide social circle is the only path to success. The saying, "It's not what you know, it's who you know," has its place, but it's dangerously incomplete. What use is knowing 100 people if you don't know yourself? Many people chase connections so frantically that they lose their own center of gravity. They become social chameleons, changing their colors to fit in, but forgetting their own true hue. They build a wide but shallow network, and when a real storm hits, they find they have no anchor. Anne, in her focused solitude, was forging an anchor of steel. She understood a fundamental truth. The world is your own, and its relation to others is secondary. This isn't selfishness, it's self-possession. It's the understanding that you are the ultimate architect of your life, the captain of your own ship. Being kind and respectful to others is a mark of good character. But sacrificing your own journey to please a crowd you don't even belong to is a form of self-betrayal. The power found in this chosen solitude has been celebrated by thinkers and creators for centuries. But in our hyper-connected, extrovert-worshipping world, we have forgotten its value. In her groundbreaking book, Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, author Susan Cain calls this the extrovert ideal. The pervasive belief that the ideal self is gregarious, alpha, and comfortable in the spotlight. This ideal casts a long shadow, making those who are more introspective, more sensitive, and more in need of solitude feel as though they are somehow defective. But Cain's research shows that introverts, the natural divers among us, possess extraordinary gifts. They are often more creative, more diligent, and more capable of deep, focused work. Their solitude is not an absence of stimulus. It is the optimal environment for their minds to thrive. Think of the greatest scientific breakthroughs, the most profound works of art, the most transformative philosophies. So many were born in stillness. The scientist in the quiet of their lab, the artist alone in their studio, the writer facing the blank page. These are all acts of deep solitude. It is in this uninterrupted state that a different kind of mental processing can occur. This is what the psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi famously termed flow. Have you ever been so completely absorbed in a task, whether it's coding, gardening, playing an instrument, or even organizing a closet, that the world around you melts away? Your sense of self dissolves, time becomes elastic, and you are operating at the peak of your ability, guided by an effortless, intrinsic motivation. That is the state of flow. It is a state of deep joy and optimal experience. And crucially, it most often occurs when we are alone. It is very difficult to achieve a state of flow while making small talk at a party. The diver, suspended in the silent blue, focused entirely on the intricate coral reef before them, is in a state of flow. This is the fun of being alone that the prompt mentioned. It's not a frivolous, distracting fun. It is the deep, soul-satisfying joy of being fully engaged, of using your skills to their utmost, of connecting with something larger than your own ego. This is the treasure the diver seeks. So the person who chooses to be alone is not running from the world. They are running toward a deeper engagement with it. They are cultivating their own garden, so that when they do choose to share its fruits, they are offering something of genuine substance. They are not empty vessels, needing to be filled by others. They are deep wells from which others can draw. But what happens when the dive gets difficult? The deep sea is not only beautiful, it can also be dark and intimidating. In our solitude, we don't just encounter our brilliant ideas and creative genius. We also encounter our fears, our sorrows, our shadow selves, as Jung would call them. The parts of ourselves we have disowned, our anger, our envy, our shame. The surface world, with its constant noise and distraction, provides an excellent way to avoid these difficult feelings. We can scroll through social media, binge watch a series, go to a party, anything to avoid sitting in a quiet room with our own discomfort. The person comfortable with solitude, however, is a person of immense courage. They are willing to sit in that quiet room. The diver is willing to face the strange, sometimes monstrous-looking creatures of the deep. They understand that these creatures are not evil. They are simply parts of the ecosystem, parts of the self. By observing them without panic, by shining the light of their awareness on them, they learn from them. They learn that their anger might be a sign that a boundary has been crossed. They learn that their envy might be a signpost pointing toward a hidden desire. They learn that their shame can only be healed by being brought into the light of their own compassion. This is the true alchemy of solitude. It transforms the lead of our pain into the gold of our wisdom. A person who has faced their own demons in the quiet of their own heart is not easily shaken by the chaos of the world. They have developed a resilience, a self-possession that cannot be taught. It can only be earned. The strength of the person who walks alone is not a performance. It is a fundamental quality of their being, forged in the silent pressure of the deep. They have learned to be their own sanctuary, their own advisor, their own best friend. So how do we cultivate this ability? How do we learn to become skilled divers in our own inner oceans, especially if we have been taught our whole lives to fear the water? It begins with small, intentional acts. It starts by reclaiming small pockets of time. Perhaps it's choosing to take a 15-minute walk by yourself without your phone. Perhaps it's brewing a cup of tea and just sitting with it, noticing its warmth and aroma, for 5 minutes. It's about creating a space where you are not consuming information or producing work for someone else, but simply being with yourself. At first, it might feel uncomfortable. The silence might feel loud. Your mind, accustomed to constant stimulation, might race with anxious thoughts. This is normal. This is the initial pressure change as you begin your descent. The key is not to immediately flee back to the surface. Stay with it. Acknowledge the thoughts. Let them pass like fish swimming by. Your goal is not to have an empty mind, but to become a non-judgmental observer of your mind. Over time, the anxiety will lessen. The silence will become less of a void and more of a canvas. You will begin to hear the quieter, more subtle whispers of your own intuition. Think of it as building a relationship with yourself. Like any good relationship, it requires dedicated, quality time. You cannot get to know a friend by only ever seeing them in a loud, crowded group. You get to know them through quiet conversations, through shared moments of vulnerability and understanding. The journey into solitude is the process of becoming your own trusted friend. It is learning to enjoy your own company, to find your own thoughts interesting, to comfort your own sorrows, and to celebrate your own silent victories. As we journey through the final part of our lives, the goal is not to become a hermit, permanently sealed off from the world. The diver must eventually return to the surface. The true meaning of growth is to dare to walk alone toward the crowd, and then, within that crowd, to maintain your independence. It is to find your own path and to have the courage to keep walking it, whether you are accompanied or not. The diver, re-emerging from the deep, is changed. The noise of the surface doesn't bother them as much. The frantic energy seems less urgent. They can engage with the people on the boat with a newfound presence and authenticity because they are no longer afraid of being alone. They are anchored in a deep sense of self that they carry with them everywhere. They can offer true connection because they are not seeking validation. They can listen deeply to others because they have learned to listen deeply to themselves. The person who likes to be alone is not simple. They are a universe. They have seen the marvels of the deep. They have navigated the darkness. They have learned to breathe in a different element. They understand that success, failure, happiness, or sorrow, all of life's experiences, ultimately lead us back to ourselves, to the quiet shore of our own being. So do not underestimate them. More importantly, if you are one of them, do not underestimate yourself. Your need for solitude is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength. It is the compass that guides you to your truest self. Learn to relax into your own presence. Eat the foods you love. Keep the company of those who truly see you and respect your need for space. And move through life slowly, deliberately. To be alone is not just a way of life. It is an intelligent and beautiful way of living. It is a path to a happiness as profound and as real as any other, a happiness that comes not from the noisy applause of the proud, but from the quiet, unwavering wisdom of your own soul.